Hello, and welcome back to Crazy Dave's Kitchen, where today we're going to be making an almond coconut cake with cherries and pistachios. And this is a really fun recipe with a lot of tasty ingredients. And so as we go down the list, we're going to start off with, I've got 10 tablespoons of salted butter that's melted and cooled. So you're going to need that. And I know it sounds like a lot, but not so much. The other thing too, kind of moving forward here, I've weighed everything out in grams. And I'll explain as we go through the ingredient list. If you have a little scale, they're really cheap, easy to get, and really make baking all that much easier because you don't have to scoop it out and measure it and create a bunch of dishes to do that you don't need to. If you just weigh it out, everything works out much easier. So again, with this dish, we're going to have 100 grams of almond flour. We're going to have 86 grams of all-purpose flour. Also, 40 grams of unsweetened shredded coconut. We're going to have 1 teaspoon of baking powder. We're going to have 3 large eggs that are going to be room temperature, and I already have these in the bowl already, in the mixing bowl. We're going to have 106 grams of sugar, plain white sugar too. And we also have 73 grams of light brown sugar. There's going to be a half teaspoon of almond extract because, again, this dish would have that spice malib, which is the ground cherry pits that we can't source here in the U.S. So we're going to use almond extract to substitute for that. We're going to have 225 grams of cherries. I used frozen cherries, just thaw them, let the juice drip out in the strainer. But 225 grams of cherries, and that's why the cherries and then also the pistachios. We're going to have 48 grams of pistachios that are chopped. Now, the reason why we go with grams is, like if you were to measure, whatever, a half cup of pistachios, it could be a mound, it could be under. You don't really know, and you don't want the dish to be overly salted or too many nuts. Same with the cherries. You don't want to have too many in there or too little in there. So that's where the gram thing starts all working out the way we need it to. So, and also I have a springform 9-inch cake pan. I have it buttered with some of the liquid butter, and I also have a parchment paper in the bottom. So this dish goes together nice. And I also have a teaspoon of white sugar for sprinkling on top once we add the cherries and everything. So let's get rolling on this. First off, we're just going to take the flours in a bowl with a whisk. So we're going to take the flours, almond flour, all-purpose flour. We're going to add the coconut, the baking powder, and the salt. And we're just going to kind of whisk our dry ingredients together. Just like so. Kind of just making sure everything's mixed up, get the clumps out. Then, with the eggs, we're going to add our sugar, our brown sugar, and our white sugar, and our half teaspoon of almond extract, just like so. And then we're going to use our whisk attachment. And we're going to use our whisk attachment. And we're just going to lightly mix this together for a little bit before adding our dry ingredients. And this is going to come together really fast. Like so. Also, we're not going to forget about our butter. We want to get our butter in there. melted and cooled, room temperature, and we need to We need to scrape everything that maybe it might have re-solidified a little bit. We just want to make sure we get it all in there. See that little bit? Every little bit counts. And let's mix that in there as well. Looking great. All right, ready to add the flour, the dry mixture. Let's add this. We're going to form a nice batter. It should form a nice, horrible batter, which it will. All right, that's looking good. With that, now we're just going to take our pan. Oh, and then get the bowl scraper. Not going to do much good way over there. We're just going to scrape this out, pour it into the pan, and gravity should really take care of most of the work here in making sure that this comes out even, as long as we pour it sort of in the center of the pan. If it doesn't, we can just use a spatula. That's a little messy. Just move it around, coax it around evenly. Our next step with our cherries, you're going to take the cherries with your hands and over the bowl, just split them in half, and then lay them down evenly as possible. And you really want that cherry juice to drip in there. That's kind of the key. That really makes this dish extra delicious when the cherries kind of sink in and in this cake. I made this for Easter, and it really turned out quite well. All right, so I've finished putting all the cherries on top, and you can see that it's a pretty even layer, pretty coated. Next, we're going to take our pistachios, and we're just going to sprinkle them all over the top, sort of in an even layer. And I should have mentioned this, Dave's Forgetful Kitchen. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees prior to mixing all the ingredients together, because that would be the smart thing to do. So 350 degree oven, and you're going to bake this for about 50 minutes, 50 to 55, and it should come out perfect. So I'm going to sprinkle the pistachios in a nice even layer, and then the last step to do is to take our plain white sugar, and we're just going to sprinkle this on top as evenly as possible. And that's pretty much it. Again, this cake really comes together rather quickly. A lot of ingredients, and it's very delicious. Well, look at all the sugar in there. I mean, how could it not be delicious? So we're going to go ahead and bake this in the oven for 55 minutes. And then when we come back, I'll show you this wonderful, beautiful almond coconut cake with cherries and pistachios. See you soon. Okay, so our cake is now out of the oven, and it's going to cool for about an hour or so in the pan. And then once you take it out, cut it up, and you'll see it's really nice. The cherries and the nuts, the pistachios, they fall into the cake, and it's really nice and delicious. This and a little bit of coffee or tea, whatever you prefer. It's really sweet. It's full of different flavors with the coconut and the almond extract. You're really going to love it. It's a Middle Eastern comfort food, and it's something you're really sure to enjoy. In this super short video, I mean, it really comes together fast, like I say. So thanks again for tuning in to Crazy Dave's Kitchen, and we'll see you next time.